photo podcast presented by me, Richard Crothers, about the making of the video No Show by Window Seats.
No Show.
After things nearly ending before they even started, Ricky McQuillan sets the scene.
So yeah, and then it was back to action again, like back to the getting everything ready and kicking it all off. I'm blown away by Kojak's ability to manufacture things. Like he had this little dolly done on a mountain board, one of these skateboard type affairs with off-road wheels. It's like Blue Peter, but much more professional. This little dolly for the camera was all fitted up and improvised, tied together, glued together, polymorphed together.
The immaculately dressed Jonathan Beer.
I was kind of all dressed up. I'd been to an interview, had like a smart shirt on and stuff. They're doing these tracking shots with this homemade dolly, which was a mountain board and a plank strapped to it. Looked like a 70-year-old tripod as well that was holding this camera up, and a couple of dumbbell weights there. So within about 10 minutes of getting there, I was sitting under this tripod as like a counterbalance for this track, just to make it smoother. So it was straight into it type thing.
Brad explains the perils of the DIY and DIY film techniques.
There was points where I was on the dolly, John was sitting on it, and I was operating the camera, and Kojak was pushing it, and it was just great to have all these guys doing all that kind of stuff. And precarious situations came up, we were using regular hand dumbbell weights to counterbalance the motion of the camera, to steady it up, and we had these tied up around the base.
Tony had tied some crazy, I don't know, he claims he's a rock climber, but it was some dodgy Boy Scout knot with this garden twine to hold them onto the tripod. Beautiful little monitors sitting right underneath them, and I think I'd just repositioned the tripod slightly and the weights come crashing down.
Just those kind of things, those things that just get overlooked and you don't really think about, and then all of a sudden the weights snapped off and literally came within inches of destroying this flat panel monitor, and stuff that isn't mine.
It wouldn't have been pretty on our bill, I tell you. It wouldn't have been a no budget production after that.
Code Scott Wood.
We'd prepared as much as we could for it, but there's so many things that you wouldn't know what would happen. You just got to be prepared to think on your feet. The dolly made, for example, there was one point where it actually broke because it was never really clear where you can lift it from, because we'd built it by adding extra bits of wood, and certain points are weak, and just one point it was lifted incorrectly and it just cracked, and it was really held up, but luckily we could just screw it back together. But that's the kind of thing you just got to be prepared for. There's lots of things that'll only happen on the day that you could never really think of ahead of it,
I think the guys had nipped out to Tesco's.
The real melting pot of the Belfast music scene.
Phoned the guys and said, look, I've got a problem. I don't think I have the charger here for the camera. So one of the guys, Jude and Dizzy, bumped into in Tesco's, had a charger that matched the battery. Just another tiny thing, just playback. On the MP3 player was hidden in behind one of the amp racks, one of the speakers, and Ricky was just queuing it up, and different people were queuing up and then running out of frame, and it was just it's just wee things like that you think that'll be really handy, but it's you need somebody just to be there specifically to cue the track up again and again and again.
This is where we realised I was going to become a multitasker, and this is going to be the case for all Window Seats jobs. I would not just be the photographer, I was going to be the button pusher and all sorts of things.
Film equipment wasn't the only gear that had to be borrowed.
I have to say, the whole experience was, Jude was letting me sleep and stay in his house. He was giving me food, driving me everywhere, and it's real, as I said at the very beginning, it was real close-knit group that came together for this video. And even to give you an example, Jude let me borrow his pants for the days that we were shooting, because I just didn't think of packing any. So Jude was more than happy to hand over his undergarments to me, and I was more than happy to take them. So in some kind of weird way, I felt closer to the man.